Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about the Danish historical fiction, The Promised Land. It was directed by Nikolaj Arcel and was released on the best day ever, February 2nd, 2024. The story takes place in 18th century Denmark and follows Captain Ludvig Khalen as he tries to tame a beautiful and harsh land. Now, before I hop into my review, if you want to support the channel, then please take a second to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you, I really appreciate it. As a warning, this review will contain some heavy spoilers, so continue at your own risk. Lastly, if there's anything you want to see reviewed, leave a comment down below and I will get to it as soon as I can. Thank you. I'm hopping in 3, 2, 1. To give some context on this movie, it is based on the Danish novel The Captain and Annbarbara, written by Ida Jessen and released on October 22nd, 2020. The book is completely in Danish and the movie sticks true to that because it is also completely in Danish. For my viewing experience, there were some English subtitles which I desperately needed, but I'm so happy the movie was in Danish because it added to its authenticity. Giving even a little more context on the movie, life in 18th century Denmark was rough. Specifically, the heath, the Jutland, the moorland. Quoting from a translation of Ida Jessen's novel, the heath is like no other place. The heath is sky and flat land. The heath is a wasteland and emptiness. The wind sweeps across the sky and clouds and rain. Warmth and cold are borne along by the howling wind. To be blunt, the heath is bleak. I love the way the heath was portrayed. It was cinematically shot very well and felt like an unlivable land. Everything felt so harsh. Director Arcel made a great decision choosing to film on location in Germany, Sweden, and Czechia. I felt like I got an authentic look at the Skyrim-like tundra. I've touched on it twice now, the authenticity of this movie. That is one of my favorite things about this film. As of late, when I turn on a historical fiction or even a historical film, I'm shocked at how history is rewritten in front of our eyes. The Promised Land doesn't do that. It doesn't pull back any punches. It shows slavery in 18th century Denmark for how it was. It shows the racist and ridiculous beliefs settlers had about people of color. It shows the ludicrous wealth gap between the nobility and those of a humble birth. It shows the lack of resources and the basic infrastructure the general population had. I loved seeing things for how they were. To me, they serve as a reminder of the sacrifices and injustices people suffered so that you and I could be where we are today. In a lot of ways, this movie reminded me of a Western. I live in Utah, so it reminded me of the pioneers traveling from the East Coast to settle the West. Leaving everything you've ever known to try and build a future for you, your children, their children, and so on was incredibly hard back then. A death sentence for some. In fact, it is still incredibly hard. My parents emigrated to the US and left their entire family behind. I was 2 years old, and growing up, I never understood how much they sacrificed to be here until I started studying history, hearing their stories, and watching movies like this one. I think The Promised Land paints a beautifully bleak picture of what sacrifice looks like. Another thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the characters and casting. Khalen is played by none other than the legendary Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen. I normally see him play villain roles, so it was awesome seeing him as the protagonist. Mads is an amazing actor and brings a lot of raw emotion to his stoic character in personal moments. However, what makes Mads' character amazing is the fact that he's incredibly flawed. He has a goal in mind, and while he knows there are morally bad things he shouldn't do to accomplish it, he does these bad things. He enacts vengeance on the men making his life hellish by murdering them. He gives away his adoptive daughter because she has brown skin. He is not a knight in shining armor, but you still root for him because despite his wrongs, he generally tries to do good. More importantly, he serves as a stark contrast to the main villain in the film, Frederick the Schenkel. Khalen is trying to colonize the Heath, but Schenkel is a local magistrate, a landowner who claims the Heath is his. He has no legal right to the land, but because there is no other authority in the area, he gets away with his despicable behavior and heinous crimes. He is wealthy and owns many slaves that he brutally beats, rapes, and murders. So, despite Khalen's flaws, he shines like a light in comparison to Schenkel. Khalen tries everything to play by the rules and makes many personal sacrifices to build his home, but Schenkel does everything he can to antagonize and slow him down. This movie does a wonderful job of blurring the lines between how many sacrifices you should make for your goals, and I loved it. The other characters and cast members were all amazing. I loved amandacollin as Annbarbara. I loved Gustav Lind as Anton Eklund. I loved Morten H. Henderson as Johannes Eriksson, and standing out as a serious child actor, Melinda Hagberg as Anmai Moose. In a lot of movies I've seen with child actors, they typically come off as cheesy, weird, and forced, but Melinda, a 9-year-old girl, has more talent than many industry vets. One of the most impactful things in an epic film like this one is the score and soundtrack. Produced by Dan Romer, the soundtrack does a wonderful job of conveying the bleakness of the heath, the brutality of Schenkel, and the stoic nature of Khalen. In personal moments, the score helps deepen the emotions characters portray. I can't think of a particular song off the top of my head that stands out, but in general, everything was great. I would even say amazing. Going into the theaters, I did not expect that I would love The Promised Land nearly as much as I did, so I was very, very surprised. I love the authentic tone and the portrayal of this historical fiction. It is very much a Taming the Wild West vibe, but in 18th century Denmark. Life on the Danish heath is bleak, cold, and harsh. To be blunt, it is brutal. Shining above the darkness, Mads Khalen is a great source of stoicism. He is a flawed character, but I think that's what makes him relatable. What makes him lovable is how he contrasts against Simon Benberg's Frederick de Schinkel. A spoiled and despicable villain with no one to oppose him, he makes Khalen's life hellish. These personal moments of hell are magnified by a hauntingly beautiful score and soundtrack. Intermittent throughout the film, we see how the characters in Khalen's life offer more meaning to him than his goal of building a home. I have nothing but praise for all the characters and actors in this movie, including child actress Melinda Hagberg. For me, The Promised Land does a wonderful job of raising the question, how many sacrifices should you make for your goals? What is your dream life worth? For Khalen, it could be worth everything. If you're interested in seeing a historical fiction epic drama, then I cannot highly recommend this movie enough. I can easily say that it will be in my top 10, maybe even top 5 movies of the year. It makes me sad to think that not a lot of people know about this movie, so not a lot of people will get to watch it. Hopefully, I've inspired you to watch it. Thank you for listening to my review of The Promised Land. If you enjoyed the content and want to support the channel, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if you want to see me review something, let me know and I will get to it as soon as I can. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.